So I need to make some buffers, basically just plastic blocks, maybe 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and I don't have any. So I've made other things out of this sort of scrap before. These are just your buckets here, and I don't know if you can see it, but that's the HDPE2. This melts 300 to 350 degrees, and it will be pretty solid when it's done. Now, I don't have any way to break these up to be really small, and I'm not going to sit here and intricately do this to get these tiny pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, got my yard sale toaster oven here, I'm going to put this in there, and as it melts, I'm going to add more to it as I go until this is, well, up to at least this point here. Then I'm going to take it out and I'm going to sort of push it down until it hardens. Then I can cut it in half and do what I want to do with it. But anyway, this is what I'm doing. HDPE2, some type of a mold, a throwaway toaster oven or whatever, and then just cut up some scrap. And like I said, I saw over, if there was a way to make these, if this is something that I did often, I would fabricate a bit for my drill to spin around and chop all of this stuff up to get it really small, because obviously the smaller it is, the easier it is to form into the bars and stuff and to melt. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in there, and I will take it out and show at different points what it looks like and what I'm doing. All right, so I'm about, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in, and you can see that, you know, this stuff really, it's soft, but not, you know, it's just starting to get to where you can work it, right? And so at this point, I'm just going to fill it up until I get enough of this material in there and it's melted that I can start compressing it down. Oops, so I can start compressing it down into a block, because it will get there. Get some more on the ends here. All right, so I'm going to fill this up, and we'll, right there, and we'll let it go for another 15 minutes. Right now I'm at just over 350. Oops, yeah, probably don't want to let that thing melt down in there, but I'm going to get that out of there, and we'll let this go for a little while longer. All right, so I'm ready to do my first sort of compression. This oven is warmed up pretty well now, so this stuff is starting to soften up very quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some parchment paper, and I have this piece of 2x6 that fits right into my mold very well. And so the parchment paper ought to stop this stuff from sticking. And you can see it's still not melted all the way yet. It's got a little ways to go, but this way at least I can get more material in there to keep this melt going. And then at the end, I'm going to let it probably sit for quite a while till I'm sure it's all solid. You could probably go out and buy a chunk or find a chunk of plastic way easier than doing all this, but there are a lot of uses for this recycled or reused plastic. I'm going to get a little lathe so that I can actually turn this stuff on there. And as I do it, if I do it more often, I'm going to build a shredding system so that this will shred and I don't have to cut all of this stuff up by hand. So anyway, this is the third one. I'm about, you know, a half hour into the project right now. So third fill. And once I get it to approximately the height where I want it to be, I'm just going to leave it in there for 20 minutes, half hour, something like that, and let it all melt and get as liquefied as possible. Okay, so this is probably going to be my final fill on this, and then I'm just going to let it all melt. It looks like I may have to do one more, but it's getting pretty close to the size I want here. So all right, you can see it's starting to really melt in spots. I'm going to go ahead and do one more layer of this, and then I'm just going to let it sit for a long while. Let it just melt and turn into one solid block. Okay, so we'll put this back in and we'll check it out in a few minutes. All right, I got, it's a little bit up too close to the top up there. I got a little bit burnt, but my fault. I should have checked it more often, but all right, I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to lower the temperature a little bit. I'm going to stick it back in, and hopefully a few more minutes. As you can see, it's just starting. So you can push that into the corners. The bottom's really melted. I'm not going to add any more material. I think I have enough. Go ahead and put this back in, and we'll come back and check it in 10 or 15 minutes. So I had my initial temperatures wrong. I was thinking of something else, I guess. And so it's actually about 250 to 275 where HDPE melts. So I mean, it doesn't help that it's up on top up there with the heating element. But I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to leave this, even though it's burnt. I don't really care. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to affect the project that I'm doing. I am going to layer some more on top though, just to fill this in, because there are some there are definitely some low spots here. So we'll fill those in. Okay, and then once this fully melts, I'm going to go ahead and take it out and let it cool. So here we go. I'm going to put it at 250. I'm going to leave it in here for like a half an hour, 40 minutes, and we'll come back out and see where it's at. So I had my initial temperatures wrong. I was thinking of something else, I guess, and so it's actually about 250 to 275 where HDPE melts. So I mean, it doesn't help that it's up on top up there with the heating element. But I'm going to go ahead now and I'm just going to leave this, even though it's burnt, I don't really care. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to affect the project that I'm doing. I am going to layer some more on top though, just to fill this in, because there are definitely some low spots here. So we'll fill those in. Okay, and then once this fully melts, I'm going to go ahead and take it out and let it cool. So here we go. I'm going to put it at 250. I'm going to leave it in here for like a half an hour, 40 minutes, and we'll come back out and see where it's at. All right, we're getting further along here. This stuff is melting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress this. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm not super concerned about the end. I'm going to go ahead, I'll sacrifice those. I'm going to take this and I'm going to compress it down. You know, it's going to be kind of an ugly deal, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this wood and I'm going to C-clamp this down. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it in a vise. So what I'm doing here is I've put it in this vise and I'm going to squash this down and I'm gonna let it sit. All right, so now's the moment of truth. This is all cool to the touch, at least on the exterior. Let's see how this all came out. If I can even get it out of here, because I didn't put any oil down or anything like that. So we're gonna I made this so I could do this way, so there we go. Wow, nice. Wow, I would definitely call that a success. So now what I need to do is I'm gonna trim this off here, and then I think each one I need is probably about half and half. So I'm gonna cut this into quarters, but that's hard as a rock. That's definitely gonna do what I need it to do. And I'll trim this up, like I said, and let me get my tool. All right, so now what you have is a block of plastic. It's got some air bubbles, but that doesn't matter. I'll hit this on the sander and we'll be good to go. And then I'll just cut it into the sizes that I need. And believe me, this is legit pretty hard. Okay, so these are the parts that I'm going to replace with this. And I somehow, by luck, managed to make this thing exactly the size I need it to be width-wise. So I'm just going to cut this little bit off and then cut it right down the middle, and my parts should match right up. So here's the finished product. Obviously you can see I cut one a little wider than the other, but they'll still do what they're supposed to do. And perfect, they're going to be perfect insulators and replace these pieces of wood that I had in there. I have several of these to do, so we're gonna have to make some more of this this block type material. But anyway, that's it. So if you ever want to make plastic, that's all you got to do. You just melt it 300 degrees. You don't really want to get it much more than that, and you can make blocks and other things. And this stuff is really heavy duty. It's pretty stout, and you're not throwing it in the landfill. So there you go, how to make plastic blocks out of HDP or HPDE, whatever it is. Should be good to go.